Hey guys, welcome back to BackPocketGameReviews, and today is official Autism Awareness Day. Actually, this whole month is Autism Awareness Month. Now, you may be wondering, what does that have to do with me, or why would I really be talking about autism awareness? Well, because my son is autistic. A lot of you who have been here on my channel for a while already know that. I've talked about it on numerous other occasions. I talk about it every April as well. I have a blue light out front of my house. Light It Up Blue is kind of the slogan of Autism Awareness Month. Blue is the autism awareness color. The puzzle piece is the symbol for autism awareness. There's a lot of things that I specifically talk about with autism too, that I feel are very important and that people should know about. And I really wish I honestly did something more than just during the month, but it is what it is. And not everyone really likes to watch these videos. But it's an important video because autism is an invisible disorder that most people don't understand and don't see. And you might not know what I'm talking about, but so a good example would be, there is a gentleman that I work with. He is autistic. He is very high-functioning autistic. He runs cash register at our store, and most people don't catch on that he has autism. He has a lot of social quirks that make it very obvious if you know what autism is or if you understand autism as a whole. So, like, I could identify to you very quickly, like, he has autism. I knew that he was autistic before anyone at our work even had to tell me he was autistic. But I get a lot of complaints on him on register. Well, I used to, back when I was a customer service manager. It's not really something I have to deal with as much anymore. And it is very sad to see people not be able to identify his disorder as easily as what I think it should be able to be. I mean, it's obvious when you speak to him. He uses a lot of scripted language, which is very common with autism, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, none of that is bad. He has his little quirks that he does, like he likes to take dollar bills and flatten them out on the register if they're crinkled, and says George likes to be flattened. Stuff like that. My son also has a lot of really interesting quirks, and a lot of people don't always understand, like, sometimes when we're out, my son might have what most people consider as a temper tantrum, and it's not a tantrum, it's a meltdown. There is a big difference between the two. Visually, though, you probably wouldn't know a difference unless you were studied up on autism. There is a huge difference. One is controllable and one isn't. And I think that's the part that makes it the hardest, though, is how do you raise awareness for a disorder that most people don't see and don't know how to identify? And it's a spectrum disorder, so it's a very wide disorder. Another good example would be Jilly D, who is a member here of this community, the BPGR community here. Her daughter is autistic as well, and her daughter is nonverbal. Being nonverbal is very common with autism. It's not every autistic person is nonverbal. Not every autistic person sticks to scripted language. As I said, it's a spectrum disorder. It can range with several different, what's the word I'm looking for here? Several different symptoms that can be there to essentially identify it as autism. Nonverbal doesn't mean that your kid doesn't understand or isn't capable of communicating. It's just they do it in a way that's not vocal. And that's really hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around. If you've never seen my autism awareness video that me and my wife did before I ever even started my YouTube channel, it will be linked in this video, either in the cards or down in the description box. It is an awesome video my wife put together at one of the autism awareness walks here in Columbus. I think you should watch it, and it would probably open your eyes a lot to autism and different symptoms that are in the autistic community. We interviewed a bunch of different parents inside of it. I had to go up to each and every single one of them because my wife doesn't like approaching strangers, and ask if they'd be okay. And then my wife interviewed them and asked them some questions. This is also back before we had, like, awesome recording equipment. Now, now our game has stepped up, so maybe we'll eventually do another video like that the next time we go to one of the autism awareness walks. I wish I could really convey to you 100% like what autism is too, but that's where it gets a lot harder. It is a social disorder, so a lot of those symptoms aren't as obvious depending on how high functioning the individual is. Scripted language tends to be a default when the person gets confused or doesn't really know how to answer. My son sometimes defaults to scripted language, or the individual at my work, when he's running register, a lot of times he will default to scripted language as well. It's not always. Like, there's a lot of times my son will say stuff that I didn't expect him to say, or that's just completely out of nowhere, or there are things he does amazingly well at. Like, in his school right now, he is above pretty much everyone else in his class at math. I'm not good at math. That's not something that he learned from me or his mother. Neither one of us are good at math. That's not my strong subject. My strong subjects were history and science. He's very good at reading. He's pretty good at writing for the most part when he's not trying to be the first one done, which is another thing he has an issue with. He's pretty good at video games. I mean, he beat The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time at the age of 7. I wasn't 7 when I beat that game. I mean, granted, I wasn't 7 when it came out, but he beat it in like a year. A little less than a year. That game took me forever to beat. That was a hard game. Now, granted, I did it also before the internet was even a thing. So I couldn't, go watch like a playthrough to try to get an idea of what was going on. Strategy guides were still a thing back then. And no one really bought strategy guides unless you were just not capable of figuring out a game. You'd fight through it. It was kind of like a bragging point. But, I mean, and there's no like one size fits all. Not all autistic kids are just like amazing at math. There are so many different traits to this disorder and so many different things that still make them all different with the same disability. And not everything is going to play to their strengths, and it's fun to try to help my son adapt to certain things that might be hard. Like, my son has issues with eating. That's a really hard one for us, is to getting him to try new foods. My son actually sees a nutritional therapist, or whatever it's called. He's on prescription Pediasure, which was stolen out of our car recently. But he's on prescription Pediasure. We take a lot of steps to proactively try to help him. He went to speech therapy for about 2.5 years. And that was probably the biggest help to my son in growing as the person that he is today. I mean, I cannot thank Nationwide Children's Hospital enough for everything that they provided us and all of the assistance they gave us in taking the correct actions to get him the help that he needed. And it's hard sometimes as a parent to hear that there's anything wrong with your kid, but if you think the symptoms are honestly there for autism, the best thing you can do for your child is to seek the help that they need. Don't try to say that it's not there. I understand. It is so hard to hear. My wife really got mad at my mom when my mom said she thought my son was autistic. I just sort of ignored my mom because it's my mom and she says stuff she doesn't always mean. By the way, my mother watches my videos, so she doesn't comment, thank God. But you can write hi to my mom in the comments down below if you want. It's just really crazy, though, to think of how hard that is to hear as a parent and how, defensive you get until you really start to learn and you've been dealing with this disorder long enough. You kind of realize that it's not as much of a lot of disorders feel like they're like a prison sentence. Like your kid's not going to live the life that you want them to live. And I can tell you that I don't feel that way every day. I don't feel like my son isn't going to live this meaningful and fulfilling life because of the disorder he has. I've actually taught him that his disorder is his superpower. So sometimes he'll tell you, if you ask him what autism is, he'll be like, it's my superpower. And it's amazing to watch how he processes things like on a different level than I do, because we both will come with the same like conclusion of things, but I might take the shortest path from A to B. He might take several other detours to get there. And I'll see if I can try to get more content up pertaining to autism. Maybe I can get other people to sit down and tell their stories. I wanted to do that last year, and it just didn't go so well. This is kind of like a rough time of the year for me. This week has been an excessively rough week, which we'll talk more about here soon. But if you have any questions about autism specifically that I could answer for you, or that you feel that you need direction in, let me know in the comments down below. I will answer them to the best of my abilities, or copy and paste from Wikipedia. Just kidding. But I would like to hear your guys' stories. If you have an autism story, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you're another creator as well, record a video. Toss it up. Let people know your story about autism. It's something people do need to be more aware of. That's part of why bringing awareness to this disorder is so important. But thanks for watching. As always, I love you all. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And thanks to YouTube not liking to tell you about videos, you should probably ding that little bell or follow me on Twitter. If you want to follow me anywhere, that's all in the description box down below, including PSN and Xbox Live. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll have plenty more content coming for you, and stick around.